Today I want to talk about credentials. You know, I talk about the idea of a viable coaching business being like two halves of a weighing scale in terms of the skill sets that we need to build a viable coaching business. On one side, we have our delivery skills, and on the other side, we have our creating the opportunity to do the delivery skills. And this is where the coaching revolution sits, on the client acquisition side. And so occasionally I'll get people saying, well, you know, why are you ICF accredited? You don't teach coaches how to coach. And why have you got an exam prep tool? What's that got to do with marketing? So here's the thing. A viable coaching practice, a financially and emotionally viable coaching practice, is one thing that contains two skill sets: the delivery and the creating the opportunities to do the delivery skill sets. And I've often had people say to me, well, why do you say you work with qualified coaches? You know, first of all, what do you mean by qualified? And secondly, why are you specifying qualified? So when I say what I mean by qualified is either ICF, EMCC, AC, or any of the other recognized professional coaching bodies that I put it a Sunday morning, isn't it? Struggling with my words. In order to be able to join us, you have to, at an absolute minimum, have completed your coach training. So you're, in the case of ICF, 60 plus hours of coach specific training, and you need to be at the building my hours part. Now, same for all the others. As long as you've done the training and you're talking about the same kind of coaching as I am, then you can join our program. You can't do a £27 Centre of Excellence course or a $7 Udemy course and then join us because you still don't know what coaching is, really. You've not had a proper professional level skills training program. So why does it matter to me? Why do I care? Why don't I just say, well, I work with anyone who calls themselves a coach? What we teach is really effective. And I don't want to be responsible for the proliferation of crap coaching. And there is plenty of it out there, plenty of it, because we operate in an unregulated industry and because anyone can call themselves a coach, which we can get really hot and bothered under the collar about, even though it's us that took the word that had an existing meaning and used it to describe what we were doing, and it doesn't really describe what we're doing from the perspective of the vast majority of the population. And so anybody can call themselves a coach, and that's fair enough. And rather than getting upset and angry about it, what we should be doing is putting distance between ourselves and anyone who calls themselves a coach. And we need to do that by being able to articulate the value of what we do in a way that normal people, i.e. non-coaches, can assimilate. That's the thing that will make the difference. Being able to describe the value in what we do in a way that helps non-coaches go, oh, right, yes, I get it. I could do with some of that and want to buy our service from us. Now, as an entire profession, we are appallingly bad at it. And that doesn't mean there are so many directions I could go with this. Let's stay on the path I started on. So I have spent the last coming up 9 years helping coaches develop that articulation skill, because that's what effective marketing is. It's being able to articulate the value of what we do in a way that people can assimilate and in a way that clearly explains to them what's in it for them, because people buy when they understand what's in it for them. They don't buy because we're nice people or because the process that we can describe is interesting, because nobody cares about processes. We care about what's in it for us. What will we get if we work with you, coach? And like I say, as a profession, we are really, really bad at articulating that value. So why do I insist on, well, you have to be on your way to earning your first credential, designation, whatever your professional body calls it. Over the coming up 9 years now that I've been doing this, every now and again, probably 50 times over the years, somebody will book into my diary and say, I'm not a coach, but I've been coaching informally for the last X number of decades, and I would like to formalize what I've been doing and get a qualification. Could you recommend a training organization? Now, there are a couple of training organizations that I will recommend, but as a rule, I don't really. I'll just say, go to the ICF website or go to the AMCC website and the AC website and have a look and see, which of the training providers appeals most to you. Now, without exception, and I know because I follow up every time, all of those people, when I went back and said, how are you getting on? They all said, I wasn't coaching. I was mentoring, but I thought what I was doing was coaching. And that's why we insist on you having to, as an absolute minimum, finish your 60 plus hours coach specific training. Because I won't be responsible for the proliferation of crap coaching. Now, as somebody said to me in a very huffy manner, how do you know that somebody who doesn't have a credential or is on the way to earning a credential, how do you know they're crap? Well, I don't. But what I do know is that those circa 50 people, none of them were doing what we call coaching. Not one of them. Zero. And so that matters. Now, one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that coaches will do all the things that are required. I'm talking specifically about the ICF pathways now. They will take their coach training and love it. They will build their hours. They will have supervision. They will have mentor coaching, and they won't take the exam. They won't take the ACC exam. It's like, why? What's going on there? And I did quite a bit of research, and it turns out that people feel very anxious about the idea of sitting an exam. For some of us, it's that we've not taken an exam for like 30 odd years, and the thought of it makes us feel sweaty. And also, there is a lot of toxic rhetoric in Facebook groups and kind of around and about this exam, and about how uncomfortable it is, how difficult it is. And the truth is, it isn't that it's difficult, it's that it's unfamiliar. And so I built an ACC exam prep tool. Now, I had a look around before I built this tool to see what's available in terms of revision tools. So they were either not that good, out of date, incredibly expensive, or light touch. And so I wanted to build something that ticked all of those boxes, that wasn't expensive, that was thorough, and that did something that no kind of static piece of paper can do, which is it mimics the exam. Now, we've had quite a number of coaches use this tool as part of their exam prep, but because we're all really clever people, what we tend to do is we'll use the Coaching Revolution's exam prep tool, but I'm also going to get this PDF, and I'm going to go to this ICF webinar about how to pass the exam. And I had some really interesting conversations recently with a couple of coaches who went to a webinar led by one of our professional bodies, by the ICF, and they were given a ChatGPT prompt. And they were told this ChatGPT prompt will create unlimited numbers of exam style questions. Now, one person in particular said, when I was using your exam prep tool, I wasn't getting everything right. And so I was really having to think and go to the revision aids that are in, all accessible from within the tool, and do some studying. And when I got this ChatGPT prompt, I got 100%. Every single question, I got 100%. He said, and I felt quite conflicted by this. Why was the questions that were given to me in this kind of official webinar, so much easier than the questions given in your exam prep tool. He said, and I can absolutely tell you, when I got to that exam, your exam prep tool was the closest by far to the actual exam. So I take that as a win. So what does this exam prep tool look like? There are 3 bits to it. Number 1, there is a revision tool. So you can you can ask, or be asked, should I say, an unlimited amount of exam style questions. So there's a question, it tells you which competency it's examining. There are 4 options and you have to choose the best. Now, with the revision tool, when you answer, it immediately explains why you got it right or why you got it wrong, and very specifically tells you why the other answers were not correct. So if you got it right, it says, well done, this is why that's right, and this is the explanation for the other answers. But it's more helpful when you get it wrong. It says, that's not right, this one is right, and this is why. Now, you can sit and do an unlimited number of questions. You can over and over and over and over again until you start to get them right. There is also a timed practice tool, which has just 15 questions, but it's delivered in exam style. And what I mean by that is 15 questions, no answers, no explanations until you finish them all. You have the ability to strike through answers on each question that you think, well, that's not right, strike it through, that's not right, strike it through, and leave you with the 2 that you think might be right, and you can flag questions to come back to later. The timed practice test allows you 90 seconds per question, which is the same as you would get in the actual exam. And when you come to the end of the 15 questions, if you've got any flagged, it will take you back to them. And if you haven't, you click submit and it gives you your explanation, your result. So it'll say you've either passed or failed. 76% is pass rate. So you can only get 2 or 3 questions wrong, and obviously over 90 questions in the actual exam you can get more wrong, but the idea is to get you familiar with it. So on the results page, it'll give you every single question, it'll show you which ones you got right, and it'll show you which ones you got wrong, and at the bottom of the screen it will tell you which of the core competencies or code of ethics you need to revise. And you can take that an unlimited number of times. There is no kind of limit on it. It's not going to kind of store that information and measure you. It is entirely an exam prep tool. And so far, we've got 100% success rate with people who've used it to revise for their exam. I mean, I appreciate that 100% success rate probably won't stay forever, but right now we have 100% success rate, which is pretty cool. So the prep tool, you can go to our website, thecoachingrevolution.com, and you will find the ACC exam prep tool, and it's £97, which gives you 3 months access, which is plenty of time to revise. If for any reason you fail the exam, send us proof of that and we'll give you an additional 3 months. So basically, you can have access to it until you pass. So let me go back to why I built this tool. I think coaching is a superpower. I think as part of a professional practice, we need to have up-to-date credentials. It's better for our confidence. It's better for our insurance. It's better for our people's perception of us. And I'm talking really about within our profession rather than outside our profession, because for most of us, our clients have no idea what our credentials mean. They don't even know what we do, so they certainly don't know what our credentials mean. And this failure of people to take the exam because they're scared, basically, I was like, I'm going to do something about that. And that's why I built the exam prep tool, and it's really good. And I've built a PCC one. Let me tell you what the difference is. The difference between the ACC exam and the PCC exam is not only are the questions longer and more nuanced, but you have to choose the best and worst responses. So there are 2 answers to each question, best and worst. And it exists, the exam prep tool for PCC, which we haven't quite launched yet, works in the same way. You can do an unlimited number of revision questions, pick what you think is the best and the worst, and it will give you answers and explanations for why the best is the best and the worst is the worst. And for the record, most PCC level coaches can pick the best answer really easily. It's the worst answer where they fail. And so being able to do an unlimited number of questions and keep going until you have mastered the skill of answering the questions, that's what exam prep's about, isn't it? And again, there's a timed practice test. And again, you get the same number of seconds per question as you do in the exam, strike through, etc., etc. And when you get to the end, it tells you which ones you got right, which ones you got wrong, if you would have passed, and where you need to revise. They're really comprehensive. And the feedback we've got is that they are not only excellent, because we're beta testing the PCC at the moment, but not only are they excellent, but that they're making a difference. Like I say, at the moment, we've got 100% success rate. We've also had somebody just take the new PCC exam, and he won't get his results until April. So it'd be interesting to see how the PCC exam helped. So to wrap up, credentials are important. They're important for our professional identity. They're important for us and for this side of our coaching business, but they're important as a whole, bearing in mind that the coaching revolution is about building the whole practice. They're important because they position us as people who care about what we do. We care enough to get professionally qualified. And whilst that isn't a marketing message because people don't know what our credentials are, it matters for us as a profession. It matters very much indeed.